Geography and You presents.
Hello and welcome back to GNY Live podcast series Building Educated India, where we engage with experts, policymakers, and thought leaders to explore the evolving landscape of education in India. I'm your host Hiteshika. Joining me as our discussant, Dr. Sulagna Chattopadhyay, Editor in Chief, Geography and You. Education is meant to be a fundamental right, empowering every individual, regardless of economic background. And yet, we find ourselves at crossroads where affordability dictates access. We celebrate institutions in Germany, Switzerland, and Finland for offering free, high quality education, while here in India, education and more so higher education is becoming increasingly market driven. Why are we witnessing this shift? Is the National Education Policy 2020 pushing India towards an education system that prioritizes profit over knowledge? What does this mean for students, especially in states like Tamil Nadu, which has long resisted the commercialization for learning? To help us understand these pressing issues, we are honored to be joined by Dr. Lenin Jawahar Nesan, a fathom in Tamil Nadu's education landscape, whose insights have shaped key policy discussions and reforms. Dr. Nason has served as the Vice Chancellor of Savita University and JSS Science and Technology University. With that, I now request Dr. Chattopadhyay to take the conversation forward.
Thank you, Hiteshika, and welcome Dr. Jawahar to our podcast.
Thank you very much.
So, as Hiteshika rightly pointed out, it is a critical question, really. This kind of challenges the foundation of our education. For example, communities nurtured children at one point of time. They were like our children, not yours or mine. They belonged to the community. It was our responsibility to educate children. I mean, now why have we become so dispassionate and so indifferent and profiting? The motive of profiting from education is something that it's just the credibility of education goes when somebody wants to profit from it. So there I want to bring you in for our first question. What has NEP 2020 brought in that bolsters this notion of profitability from education?
See, education is primarily a social function. By being a social function, it must be for the common good. And the common good character of education has been slowly eroding since independence, since we framed constitution. Even the first education policy done by Dr. Radhakrishnan, if you look at that, he also emphasized privatization. He said that India cannot afford to, completely make public their higher education. So since then, slowly, gradually, all series of governments have started to privatize it and saying that they cannot afford, and the income is not enough to afford it, or purely making it public. Say, but for instance, that even in United States and other progressive countries, you look at that, even though the for-profit is on the rise in many countries, but somehow universities, the Ivy League universities and European countries, you can find that almost it is either affordable to all walks of life or almost free education, even in higher education in many countries for the citizens of those countries. So that means that education, both school and higher education, if you look at that, this has been made common good. All measures taken by all governments, even though they propagated privatization globally. Say, for instance, World Trade Organization. You look at that WTO's GATS agreement, and they sought for the mandate is privatization, and the government should be relieved phase by phase from the educational responsibilities. And purely India is following that trend of World Trade Organization. Since the India succumbed to 2005, I think they signed the treaty. Since then, you can see that slowly the investment of the government of India in education, the public investment has been eroding and declining, and the private investment is on the rise. And so that means that it is for profit now. It is no more charitable or social in nature. So the common good character of education has been lost. But say the countries who propagated privatization through WTO are really doing public. Take, for instance, United States. Look at them, and the fees may be high, but in by several means, by non taxable lending and by many scholarship programs and subsidies, they made it affordable to all walks of life. So compared to the PPP, in terms of PPP, you look at between India and China and between India and United States, you will see that somehow even higher education is reasonably public there, and in India it is. So it is the policy of the government. The National Education Policy 2020 is daringly, openly, promoting privatization through PPP mode, the public-private partnership mode. So public-private partnership means it is truly private. So the public will have in the national education policy, public-private partnership means or the public will take care of regulating education and private will invest for education. So that is the policy of NEP 2020. So this is the first time I'm witnessing in this country, if you compare all across the world, whoever owns investment owns education. But whereas only in this country, the government wants to regulate it and they want to indoctrinate whatever they want to in terms of curriculum delivery, in terms of content syllabus. They want to put their nose too much, but they don't want to be responsible for investment. So look at that, the investment between China and India. China is spending about $800 billion, almost $1 trillion in education. Whereas India, you look at that, it is just only 1.2 lakh to 1.28 lakh crore public budget, the central budget. And other expenses, are owned by the state governments. Even collectively, if you take in terms of GDP, it is about 15 lakh crore from the Indian side. For 140 crore people, the same 140 crore people, they are spending $800 billion, $1 trillion. So almost about 80 lakh crore, whereas we are spending only 15 lakh crore for the total 140 crore. So the investment policy and the policy of public education is very much against the philosophy of education in India. I think probably that is the reason that in India, education has been made profitable and commercial.
Okay, now you did mention just a little while ago that universities abroad have scholarships and it makes it equitable, in terms of higher education. They also have something called endowments, and that's the way to kind of bring in bright, talented people into higher education. Now, we don't have endowments, but we do have scholarships. So do you think that once privatization happens or more, because Tamil Nadu, I believe, till very recently had all government colleges, and now it has a few private colleges coming in, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about that as well. But do you think that a model like that would perhaps work if endowments came in from industries and if there was a rising number of scholarships? Would then the NEP 2020 work, and not really privatize, but get in more opportunities?
Yeah, I think that is not the solution. It is only addition. Say wherever endowment comes in bearing the educational cost or cess that we use, all are additional only. They are all incidental and then focused on certain measures and initiatives. They cannot replace the investment, the total outlay. The total outlay that you look at, say, for instance, you ask Tamil Nadu, and between Tamil Nadu and the government of India, the union government, if you compare, see, the Tamil Nadu government has spent only 1.5% of the GDP now in 2025 budget for education. Why not? It is 3. So of this 1.5% of the GDP, they spend about 55,000 crore they spent this year. So that means it is only 1.5% of the GDP. If they make it 3%, it rounds about 1 lakh crore. If we have 1 lakh crore invested in Tamil Nadu, and you will 1 lakh crore means that you can completely make education free, both school education and higher education. So you look at government of India. India has spent only this budget outlay is 1.28 crore, 1.28 lakh crore,
Crore.
and that means it is only 2.5% of the budget, and it is about 0.7% of the GDP. And Kotari has been saying 6% of the GDP long time back. But Indian government is spending only about 0.7% of the GDP. So at least if Indian government, the union government increases at least 3%, that will make sense. So that means that between Tamil Nadu and India, I think both of them are following the same strategy. Because the Tamil Nadu's budget is a little bit 4.3 lakh crore, and the GDP is about 0.4 trillion dollar, and because of that, somehow this 55 crore, with that we are taking some measures. And Tamil Nadu is doing one thing for the last 70 years. You could see that Tamil Nadu is taking all welfare measures to make education inclusive. Say noon means skill, and then 1,000 rupees now for women, girl children going for higher education in colleges and universities. And then it is promoting in terms of educational, supporting the students in terms of educational input. But my question is that is not enough. Even in Tamil Nadu, the government school students' parents' average income is just less than 50,000 rupees per year. So that means 97% of the students' parents' annual income is less than 1 lakh. So if the annual income is 97% of the parents going for government schools is less than 1 lakh means with this money, do you expect that they can bear the cost? Especially education is highly privatized in Tamil Nadu. 70% of higher education is privatized in Tamil Nadu. And now at least 30% of the school education is privatized. And it is going to be doubled in the next 7-8 years. So that means that Tamil Nadu is following the trajectory of what Indian government has been doing for the last 70 years. So that means that even though Tamil Nadu has made incremental improvement, that is not enough in the last 70 years. And it needs to make more investment and more inclusive policy in education. And only then we can grow. So that means that a lot of things have to be done, madam.
Yes.
But Tamil Nadu is, say, NEP is making educational establishments self-sustain on their own. So that means NEP 2020 is emphasizing educational institutions, especially higher education colleges and universities, to own their own money. And where will you get, fund for higher education? And many higher education colleges, the government aided and government colleges are not attracting students because of lack of teachers, lack of infrastructure, lack of lab facilities, and so on. And so they have to look for private education, and even private education.
Yeah, for example, like Tamil Nadu does show, like for higher education, the stats stand at 47% for Tamil Nadu, while, as for Kerala, the state beside you, it's 41%. So it's definitely like a lot more young people are attempting to educate themselves. So basically, educationally, what I mean to say, that Tamil Nadu stands at a better place than, of course, globally. I'm not comparing it to global standards, and I'd like you to do that as well, maybe. But what I'm trying to say is that amongst the other states, Tamil Nadu stands at a good place. And do you think that NEP 2020 will bring that down, or what is it that you're... And also it's advisory. NEP 2020 doesn't say that you have to do it. It's kind of advisory. So why is Tamil Nadu, or for example, Tamil Nadu is doing, like, privatization is part. So, and like you said, it is happening. So what is it that you are envisaging would be detrimental for a state which is already at a good place?
Yeah, the state is comparatively at good place in terms of gross enrollment ratio in higher education. And I think that had out of that 51% enrollment, I think reasonably we are producing good graduates who are globally competent. But that doesn't mean that education system in Tamil Nadu is of highest quality, producing that kind of high caliber students. But minus that, but as you said that the NEP 2020, with the advent of NEP 2020, you said that it is advisory, but it is not advisory. They are trying to make it regulatory, and they are trying to bring more legislations. Say, for instance, National Education Commission and Higher Education Qualification Framework. All those things are going to be statutorily obligatable, is liable. So that means that unless we heed to it, we will be isolated or we will have some penalty. So that means that national education policy is trying to privatize, is for profit and commercialize, and it is bringing with an education, higher education qualification framework and curriculum framework from school levels to higher education to monopolize and standardize and make it one across the country. So whereas Tamil Nadu will lose its potential and ability to make its to devise its own educational standards, which is always higher than the other states. So Tamil Nadu wants to get at least $1 trillion economy by 2030. And for that, Tamil Nadu should grow with more than 2% GDP growth. And for that matter, India also should grow with a double-digit economic growth, whereas India is always between less than 7 in the last several years. So without double-digit economic growth, you will not get your GDP growth, and that cannot be level-headed for the overall educational growth and development of all walks of life. So in that way, Tamil Nadu, with the advent of NEP 2020, NEP 2020 is so bringing a lot of detrimental mechanisms like academic bank of credit. Ever first I witnessed, not only me, the world ever first witnessed in the world history. So you look at ABs, the academic bank of credit, 60% of the credits you can complete anywhere you like, and 40% if you complete it your own institute where you are enrolled, that is enough. That means that 60%, where will they go? And how will they do it? And who will sponsor? And who will pay for it? Say, for instance, if you study in one university, and you know what is that exact money, the fee to be paid for that university. But if you take 60, if you're forced to take 60% of the credit from other institutions, you have to pay to those institutions. That means it is indirectly promoting the students to commercialize and own responsibility for financial responsibility and multiple entry and exit. So, for instance, education should ensure that everyone completes the degree for which they are he or she is enrolled. And if you drop them halfway through and you give them a partial degree, partial certification, and with that you are trying to inculcate Vishwakarma skills to them so that they become plumbers and carpenters and labor workforce. You are trying to force them into labor workforce. So that means that the elitism will kill education system, the social justice system Tamil Nadu was fighting for the last several years. So that means the majority of the poor students, downtrodden and low caste students who have been enjoying some privileges until they complete the education will be lost by multiple entry, multiple exit and ABC kind of credit systems. And also they are promoting digital education. And that digital education is mainly fostered. You look at that World Trade Organization GATT agreement. The GATT agreement 2005 clearly states that export of educational service and import of educational service, that means whichever country who are good and capable and progressive in education will only export. So that means in educational trade, India cannot export education to US, whereas US will export education to India. So education becoming a trade is
Yeah.
going to become imbalanced. And then through digital education, only they are going to do that. So in that way, digital education is against the majority people of this country.
Yes.
And
So
they cannot afford for it.
yeah, yeah. So the two things that you've led me to actually. The first thing that you've led me to is like linking GDP to employability after somebody is qualified. So that's the first is issue of employability, and Tamil Nadu ranks quite high in employability as well. Also Kerala ranks very high, but so that's one thing. The second thing that you've led me into is about how you are saying that foreign universities coming into India and digitization being part and parcel of that education system. So now you tell, if you can just enlighten our listeners about how digitization, like we have, for example, UGC's got MOOC courses, and you've heard about these MOOC courses, but I don't see a lot of uptake. I don't know what you feel about it. I'd like to know. And generally about the other certification courses that say Harvard is giving you a certificate of some sort, which is some little course in digital space. And then all of other these things that is coming with foreign universities, which comes for a small fee, but a small fee over a large number of people is not small really. So I'd like to know from you these two aspects. One is employability, and then this entire movement of these foreign universities coming in, and the digitization of the digital
See,
education.
one thing you have to see the growth of internationalization of education in the past of the developing countries. Say, take for instance Malaysia, Middle East, and African countries, where the so-called Western progressive countries entered into the education sector, and they went to only make money out of it. Say, for instance, MIT went to Singapore to establish, but halfway through it stopped because the business was not doing well. And many universities went to Malaysia and other third world countries, from Australia, from Canada, from US and other countries, UK, and they went and to establish to shop around the students in undergraduate programs primarily, and there was no complete educational ecosystem in like the labs and quality of infrastructure they have in the back home in United States and UK. You will not find in the counterpart countries. So it is only a shopping spot for recruiting the students and making money out of it. Even there is no difference between Yale University and other third-rated universities in UK and US. So that means internationalization is only commercialization. So we shall not promote it. And even when they are coming, say, for instance, Stanford University or Harvard comes here to India and establish, they will not have the same infrastructure as they have. They will not have the
Correct.
same quality professors as they have. So with the least quality, with the inferior quality facilities and the teaching staff, they are going to cater. So the same quality you will not get it here. But the digitization they might do, say, for instance, Coursera and other digital online things are there. And I don't think that you look at that, the impact of Coursera, it is just only making money. It did not give enough expertise and exposure to students with all-round thinking skills to survive and solve problems, to be creative and in the 21st century. So the
Yeah,
21st
I'll just put
century
in
skill.
just put in one data just to tell you that we did a MOOC course understanding. So there's a lot of people who are coming in to enroll, but when they, I mean, even after certification, we don't know how much they're learning really, but only about 7 or 8% completes the course and takes that certificate in the end. So the entire infrastructure, like you're saying, Coursera, that's the other one. So yes, I completely agree with you. Yes, continue, sir.
Yeah, the problem is say more courses as mandated by the NEP. And even in the NAC, when I go as a NAC accreditor, and you look at that in the NAC, this is one of the things, how many courses you have done through MOOCs and through online and so on. Is it mandatory? Why do you want to make education online mandatory? And what is the purpose behind it? The pedagogy will work better only in the offline teaching and learning. Because
Absolutely.
only then students can be made to think and acquire critical thinking. National Education Policy 2020, in the first principle statement, it says critical thinking is to be fostered. But to foster critical thinking, you need to have critical pedagogy. Can you implement critical pedagogy in teaching learning online? You cannot. And even the MOOCs courses and online courses, the Swayam portal,
Swayam
you look
portal.
at that, these courses are meant for, this online program is meant for the central government's notion that is the Vedic propagation and Sanskritization. So I think that is the purpose behind the Swayam courses, because most of the courses you go there, you will find only Max, Vedic science, and so on. So it is the NEP 2020 is indoctrinating the Indian kids and Indian youths in the line of the Sanskrit thoughts and the Sanskrit principles and way of life. I think that they are trying to make education in this country a way of life to produce a new society based on the principles and ethos of Sanskritization and Vedas and Vedic principles. Nothing more, nothing less. So all those policies, investment policies, and even the research spending, they spend 0.6%. You take China, 2.5% about, and United States, 3 plus. And the 2.5% of $18 trillion, you imagine how much China spends, and 0.6% of $4.3 trillion India spends, how much you spend.
Yeah.
So the least of the least, and all those least spending goes to Sanskrit education, Sanskrit, Vedic, Max Science, IITs, IIScs, top-notch institutes are now forced to follow the suit of the ethos of the Indian education that NEP 2020 wants to inculcate. So I think that in all respect, I think it is a backward thing, and it is taking education backward. So that is not good for the country. And it is especially going to spoil Tamil Nadu, which is already partially progressing. And again, I foresee Tamil Nadu will go down, down, and down, because Tamil Nadu is also following the suit of national education policy on some aspects. Indirectly, they are implementing NEP on certain aspects. So this is not good for the country, madam.
Right, Dr. Jawahar, that was very interesting discussion. Although I know that there are things that we still need to know and would like to have discussed, but we have a little bit of a time constraint. So, but we will come back to you and take more information when we put out the blog. My team will be in touch. And thank you once again for your time, and we will surely meet.
Thank you. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot
Thank you.
for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Chattopadhyay, for guiding today's conversation, and a big thanks to Dr. Nesan. Your insights today have given us so much to think about. Thank you for sharing your expertise and experiences. As we conclude this discussion, one thing is clear: education is more than just an economic sector. It is the foundation of an equitable society. While the world moves towards making education more accessible, India appears to be shifting in the opposite direction. With rising tuition fees, growing private sector influence, and policies that encourage self-financing institutions, we have to ask, are we creating an education system that truly serves everyone, or that leaves many behind? And to our listeners, what do you think? Share your thoughts and let your voice be heard. Join the conversation on our social media channels and let us know about your views. A detailed blog of this podcast, along with the additional resources, key takeaways, and expert perspectives, will be available soon on www.geographynU.com. This is GNY Live, Building Educated India. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and most importantly, keep pushing for an education system that serves everyone.